delayed again for weather, where both starting pitchers, I want to say, only went like two or three innings, and it just made for a really funky, weird game. I mean, there were foul balls that were getting blown back into play and flirting with being a home run all of a sudden. Like it was, the wind was nuts. They were scared it was going to rain the whole time. I don't think it ever really did actually rain. If it did, it wasn't all that much. But they ended up losing that season opener game, wacky season opener game, by a final score of 3-2. I want to say they were down 2-0 when they went into the delay, and then coming back, they tied it up at 2 before Jepson, in a closing role over Perkins, ended up giving up the game-winning run to the Orioles, who won by a score of 3-2. Now, it was a somewhat disappointing loss, but overall the team showed, fairly good signs in most things, and it just, it's a 162 game season, and it was a weird game on the road, first of the year, and just, I'm not worried at all about anything I saw that was negative in that first game. That being said, I would like to point out one thing that we'll probably go through spells of at times, just the way this team and this lineup and batting order is arranged, and that is the strikeout woes. First 2 innings of the season, hitters 2 through 6 all struck out in a row, consecutively, in succession. I don't know what other synonyms I could come up with, sorry. But in all honesty, that was really the only one negative I did take away from anything in that first game, was just, a few too many strikeouts and undisciplined or just poor plate performances and appearances by too many of the guys in the top half of our lineup. But after that first game, we had a day off on Tuesday, a rare day off in the insane marathon that is the Major League Baseball season. I was trying to explain to someone the other day that, a Major League Baseball player and a team, they only have about 3 or 4 days every month where they're not playing a game. And I'm looking at this here with the regular season started, and it is 3. There are 3 days out of 31 or 30 usually that these guys aren't playing a game. It's an insane schedule. But that's the way it is. And the Twins are back at it again here tonight, as I mentioned, in Baltimore for Game 2 of their 3-game series against the Orioles. And after 2 innings here in the top of the third, Baltimore is up 1-0. But the Twins just led off the top of the third, Buxton, with a double. Fantastic. There's that blazing speed. He just hits a single into left field, and it's a double. So that's great. With his wheels, all he really has to do as a hitter is put the ball in play. He there are so many ground balls where he can, turn into fielder's choice hits. It just, he creates so many unique scoring opportunities and forces the defense to play a whole different way if he's just putting the ball in play. Don't strike out Byron Buxton. So that was nice to see. And then Dozier advances him with a ground ball to third here. All right, I'm getting a little distracted. Back to what am I doing? Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm recording a sports show and watching sports at the same time. Who says men can't multitask? Honey. But like I said, the Twins will finish their 3-game series with the Orioles tomorrow night. That game is also at 6:05. And then Friday, they go to Kansas City to take on the defending champs for a 3-game series. That game starts at 7:15. Saturday's game is 6:15. And then Sunday's game against the Royals is a wonderful day game at 1:15. Then on Monday next week will be the home opener for my and possibly your Minnesota Twins, and that will be against the Chicago White Sox. And then they'll have Tuesday off again, and then Wednesday and Thursday will be the final games against the White Sox at home, and we'll be talking sports again by that point in time. So that's what the Twins have on their upcoming schedule until we are talking again. And bada bing, bada boom, realest guys in the room, how you doing? Joe Mauer with a ribby knocks in Buxton. Twins tie it up at 1 apiece here in the third. 2 outs, Miguel Sano at the plate. Awesome! Fantastic! But we'll do one final bit of Twins news here with, what's going on thus far in the season, 1.5 games here. And then we will get to our full Major League Baseball season preview extravaganza. And that is what has happened with the Twins starting pitching rotation. I mentioned that the starting pitchers for both the Orioles and the Twins in the season opener game on Monday, were only able to go 2 to 3 innings apiece because of the rain delays. And now as a result of that, the Twins rotation has changed. Ervin Santana started game 1. He is your number 1 in the rotation, followed by Kyle Gibson, who was on the mound tonight, followed by Phil Hughes, followed by Malone and Nolasco at number 5. Well, since Ervin Santana only pitched those 2 games, we had, like I said, Gibson tonight, and then Hughes tomorrow. And then after Hughes goes, instead of going Malone and Nolasco, they're going to put Santana in there at 3 before Malone and Santana. So honestly, if it was me, I wouldn't personally. I would just let the rotation continue to go through the order. However, if you feel that Santana's arm needs the action, from a time standpoint in between use, then by all means start him, if that's what you're basing the decision off of. But if it's just he's our best guy, and we only got 2 innings out of him the first time or whatever, so don't change up the rotation, because then at some point in time you're going to have to mix it back up, and mess with a guy's rest to get him where he's supposed to be in it. So I'm not a big fan of it unless they were to tell me, it's strictly a health-related decision in regards to his arm. Then I'm cool with it. But otherwise, I don't like it. Just keep going through the order, and when it's next turn for our number 1 guy to pitch, then he's ready to go. Instead of now, when it's the next turn for our number 1 guy to pitch, it's gonna the number 2 or number 3 guy's gonna have to do it. I don't know, whatever. But and just so you know, we will try and give you a final score or outcome on the Twins-Orioles game from tonight at some point here before the show is done. All right, well, it is officially about that time to finally get into my predictions for the upcoming 2016 Major League Baseball season. I worked very hard on these for the last several days for you guys, and I really hope you appreciate it. But where to start? Well, we're Twins fans. We've been talking Twins, so let's keep it there. We'll start our baseball regular season preview extravaganza prediction special here in the AL Central, where you have the defending champion, not only defending division champion, but defending world champion, Kansas City Royals. They lost a few pieces from their championship team of last year, but I don't know that it was anything more than, rent-a-player Johnny Cueto and a few other guys of that ilk, to where anybody should look at them and go, oh, well, their window's closed. It's, nothing like that. Like, they got a real good team on paper. And then, of course, you've got the Twins, which we've discussed about in a fair amount of detail up until this point in the season. They've got tons of bats in the lineup. At least that's what is expected. Fielding defense should be average to above average. With Buxton out in center, there would be your above average. Sano in right, that's, not so much. But you guys like Dozier and Mauer and Escobar in the infield too. It's a decent infield. So defensively, we're adequate, more than adequate. Not to say that's without weakness. And then the real question is the pitching. Other than can the bats produce runs? We know the bats can hit. It's a matter of can they produce runs. But the pitching, primarily, not only the starting rotation, which is definitely going to have moving pieces throughout the year as people are called up and as other people are injured or as other people struggle or all the different reasons, you will see a fair amount of shifting and changing in the Twins' starting pitching rotation throughout at least the first 3 months or so of the season. You'll also probably see some shuffling in the middle of the bullpen as well. Closers, it was pretty locked down with Jepsen and Perkins, at least at the time being. That's what we think. Curious to see if we're going to continue to maybe give Jepsen the edge as closer over Perkins, or if we're going to try to do a dual closer thing with them, where they have certain situations, or you ride who's ever hot, or if Perkins will go back to being the closer and Jepsen will be the setup guy. So questions all around is the pitching staff. But that's not to say that we're going to be bad. It's just questions. They're unanswered yet. But then also you've got the Indians with a good small ball baseball team, good young talent, good fielding, some decent speed, some decent bats. Not a ton of power, I don't think, in their hitting lineup, though. And some good pitching. Indians can be one of those surprise teams that, overachieves, and you see them in the postseason come playoff team. Another one of those teams in the Central as well would be the White Sox. They've got starting pitching, a la Chris Sale. They've got big money bats in the lineup to produce runs. I think my questions and concerns in regards to the White Sox come mostly from the management and even the front office, with handing down a policy that resulted in one of your players who's a key part of your team and paid $13 million a year just up and saying, no, I guess I'm not going to play baseball anymore. So the franchise in a little bit of disarray. The locker rooms even got a little bit of divide and split from that. So I personally don't expect much from the White Sox this year at all. However, they do have a large amount of talent, in some positions on their roster where it is conceivable. It's inconceivable. No, it's conceivable that they could challenge for a playoff spot, but I don't think all the ingredients are there. Just one or two. And then the Tigers. You've got they've been the team of this division, here for the last 5 to 10 years, really kind of dominating it. And now it seems like their window, their opportunity, their time has officially come and gone. And with that being said, I will then reveal to you my order, my prediction order and approximate wins for said division, AL Central. I read them to you in order of how I predict they will finish. I believe that the Royals will win around 90 games this year and be the first place team in the Central. The Twins, I don't think they'll win less than 80. I think they'll definitely hit the 80 win mark. And I honestly think they're going to have somewhere between 82 to 85 wins. Is what I'm feeling. And if somehow we stay healthy and get some quality pitching, this could be a 90-win Twins team. So anywhere 80 would kind of be your low, your basement point on the Twins for a win total, and 90 would definitely be your ceiling. So we're looking at about an 85 or so win team, which should probably be good enough to get you one of the two wild card, play-in game spots. But it's a long season. A lot of things happen. We will have to wait and see. But like I said, I'm going right around 83, 84 wins for the Twins here. Behind them, in third in the division, I got the Indians and then with around 80 wins. And I also have the White Sox then in